If you missed our first match of the day, spoiler alert, Alliance beat Roccat without a base race, and Joe and QuickShot are here with me to break down things a little bit further. Trevor, I'd like to start by taking a look at the picks and bans from Roccat, because yesterday Veggie said, we just pick what we're comfortable with, we don't yet know what to pick yet on the patch. What do you think they picked today?
So I don't think they did too bad of a job in terms of the champions they locked in and how well they perform on the patch. Leona, Elise, there's a lot of hard engage. You've got Jax that's got a stun as well. And considering how much more expensive the Mikhail's Crucible is, that sort of engage pick style of champion can work very well. And Roccat got off to a good start. They were 6-0 up in terms of kills. The problem was they spent so much emphasis on trying to get champions, they fell very hard behind in terms of CS.
Totally agree with that. I actually really like Rockat's combo coming into this one. We've seen already how effective Caitlyn Leona can be. The disengage from Nami is always going to be a problem for them, though, and we saw that time and time again. And also the Orianna for Froggen, not one of his big played champions. In fact, one that he's not played so far in summer and was, let's just say, terrible on in spring. He actually got more kills and assists in this game alone than he did in 3 games on it in the spring split. Sorry, so good performance from Froggen. Really liked his Orianna. And just see it again, maybe. Very
quickly before we move on, he also hit 300 CS at 23 minutes and 23 seconds on the clock exactly. That is a massive farming advantage. It's taking his Wraith camp and taking his opponent's Wraith camp completely uncontested. Nobody bothered him at all the entire game.
Yeah, when we look at the power spikes, then do you think that Alliance, I asked Nif, and he said, we actually did panic a little, but I don't really think they had ground to panic that much. The goal difference wasn't all that big.
It wasn't. I mean, Nif was 0-3, Shook was 0-3. They'd thrown some bodies at defending the dragon, and Alliance did successfully negate Roccat getting the first dragon, which they ended up securing. And with the goal difference, it actually kept them, fairly far ahead. I was looking at it, at 20 minutes on the clock, every single one of the carries was ahead in CS. They had a 2,000 gold lead. They were even on towers, but they were down 5 kills. And they didn't care, because as soon as they hit those item points, they were just like, now let's flick the switch and let's just go win.
It felt in that way somewhat like a kind of standard Alliance game that the kills they're not really focused on. This time they were against them. Sometimes they'll be ahead in kills, but it's really the fact that they're focusing on farming really well in their lanes, making sure that they get those objectives. And well, with a lineup like they had, they got to the right point when they needed to. And we all know that Alliance are a team that, as you mentioned, flicking the switch, they can do like no other, I think, in the LCS.
Just very quickly, Alliance, while they do play very patient, the moment they have items in their inventory, that's when they say, now let's force objectives, now let's try and sneak towers away. But until they get to that point, nobody's willing to move. Nobody's willing to force objectives until they're comfortable in their power.
And Nif said it as well. We saw that Rabadon's on Frog and said, it is go time. Very good performance again from Alliance. And now we're going to rejoin D&D at the desk for our next match.